Okay, so I believe we are live. I believe everyone can hear me properly. And yeah, so quickly give me a thumbs up in the chat sections if you guys can hear me properly and if my screen is also visible to everyone. Yeah, so good evening, everyone. Cool. Okay, we have lots of people saying good evening. Good evening, everyone. Siddhant, Mukund, Shadat, Satyavan, Anikanta, Rutuja, Harshita, Aditya, Asif, and Rituja. Okay, so I believe that thumbs up is for voice and screen, right? Cool, cool, cool. Great. So, as you know the drill, right? We'll be waiting till 7:05 so that everyone can join in, and after that we'll start this session. Till this moment, you know what to do, right? Since you have been joining for quite some time now. So, for those of you who are very new to this live stream, who have just just landed up in our channel or landed up in this live stream, I just want to give you a very brief about what this current bootcamp is all about and what this edspread is all about. So basically, this bootcamp is a 7-day bootcamp wherein we are teaching the essentials of front-end web development. That basically includes HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Right. In that part, it's like day 4 of that bootcamp now. And until this point, we have covered HTML, we have covered CSS, we have covered JavaScript, some programmatical fundamentals we have covered till this point. Right. And yeah, in today's session, we'll be going forward with our JavaScript fundamentals. Right. And if you are joining in for the first time, then please let us know like what is that what are your expectations from that, or if you are joining for if you have earlier joined our boot camps, then do please tell us about your experience. How is your experience and what things that you have been learning with us, right? And one more quick question over here is ki, for those of you who have joined the earlier live stream, we have been talking about that our flagship program, right? That guaranteed internship program. This thing which I had discussed briefly in the last session, right? So I've given you this particular what Google form for that as well, for those of you who are interested in knowing that, and for those of you who want to have some queries or who are interested in learning more about that. So I believe most of you have filled that form, right? If any of person has left, is yet to fill that form, please do that. I'm doing one thing. I'm sharing that link again, so that for those of you who have missed, or for those of you who are just joining in for the first time, right? Just let me take a moment, right? I'll explain this first and then I'll share this, because for those of you who just see this, will they say, what is this thing, right? So I'll briefly explain this as our audience arrives, like from 7:05 we'll start this thing, and then we'll majorly cover our JavaScript part, right, that we have been discussing from the last class. Okay, so good evening. I expect that you provide all complete lectures on. Okay, so Surya is saying that you will provide all complete lectures. So see, Surya, it's like yeah, we are trying to provide like all lectures of literally every things that we can come up with, but it's like until a point we can put in like so many these things. For other things, we are constantly improvising, and we are constantly coming up with better things, right? So yeah, we'll definitely provide as many things as possible from our end. Don't worry about that. Cool. Good evening everyone. Dhiron Payal says good evening. So yeah. Just a minute, so it's 7:04. One more minute we'll be waiting. Till then, if you have any other things or any other queries to ask, please do let us know. For that, and for those of you who are already aware about this, let me share that link, by the way. Although for those of you who are not aware, like what is this post registration and what is this query form, don't worry, I'll explain this. as we move ahead with the course. Yeah, I completely have that thing in my mind. In yesterday's session, I was mainly covering the theory part. In today's session, I'll have first of all make that thing practically possible, and then we'll move ahead with the remaining topic ones, right? Yeah. Premium courses and the YouTube courses. Okay, so this thing I gave you a simple like definition. I mean, normal comparison in the last class. Okay, so all these timings and all these recorded lectures. See, one thing I can tell you that although these are live classes, but suppose in case you might have missed any classes or something, for that you'll definitely have recorded classes. The timing and all are not like cannot be revealed at this moment. It's just like if you are interested, depending upon how many students are interested, and depending upon that, we'll plan that accordingly. Yeah. Cool then. Okay, I think it's past the time now. Let's start with our lectures. Cool. As someone from the team says, please fill out these forms in order to get further details, right? If you have any queries about timings, etc., etc., please do fill out that form. We'll reach out to you, and don't worry, we'll not spam you, right? So in yesterday's lesson, what we discussed about the fundamentals of JavaScript. Not specifically JavaScript, but yeah, fundamentals about programming, right? And that too in the areas of JavaScript. So in today's class, what we will do is, just a moment, I'll go to that folder. Just a minute. This is that folder, right? Where we have been doing that. Yes. So maybe I'll create a new folder. So I could do that with the inside that. I'm quickly making these things. Right, if you remember what all we discussed in the last class. Quickly, I'll make an HTML file, index.html. Right, why I'm writing it as index.html is, I have told you this thing earlier. What is the purpose of writing an index and how we can leverage that. Just a minute, it's taking some time. Automatically pop in the session. We discussed about few things, right? We discussed about what all data types we have, what all different what are different types of variables we can use, right? What is var, what is let, what is const. Although we don't have a very brief a very detailed discussion around it, because that thing is something for the later lectures. As we know more about other things around JavaScript, then we'll be able to differentiate between let, const, and var in a very proper manner, right? We also discussed about loops as well, right? What are loops and how do you write it? What is the purpose of writing loops? Right, so all these things we'll be doing in today's class. Yeah, so I've quickly popped in this part. I'm removing all these extra non-necessary stuff at this moment, so that we have a very clean state over here. I'll also quickly zoom in so that you can see my screen properly, right? Now, what is the very first thing, right? Now let's keep that part aside, right? Let's keep that part wherein we have been, just a minute, I'll come to this part very soon. The first part was, if I told you about CSS, right? The first thing that I told you was what is the use of CSS, why CSS is required. Then the immediate next thing that we told is how can you implement CSS in your HTML page, right? If you remember, we have not included CSS in our we have not included JavaScript in our page at any point till this class, right? So the very first thing is, we'll be seeing what all can be different ways of how you can include your JavaScript file into your HTML, and then we will start looking into different JavaScript codes, what all these different things do for us, and then we will have a better understanding of that. So maybe I'll write a hello world over here. Simply I'll write hello world. Now, one thing is, very simple thing is, just like we were doing in CSS, right? Just like we were doing this style block we are making, right? You're writing a style block. Yeah, this kind of block that we were writing, and whatever we were writing inside it, it was plain CSS for us, right? CSS we were writing over here. Similar way, you can also include your JavaScript into that part. And how you can do that is just instead of writing this style tags, you'll have to write a tag called as a script tag, right? So whatever you write inside that part, whatever you write inside that tags, enclosing one, this opening one and this closing one, will be treated as a JavaScript in your page, and this will work, right? This JavaScript will be attached to your page. One quick thing one very crucial thing that you need to keep in your mind is whenever we talk about JavaScript, right, adding JavaScript to your pages, please note that we will try to keep this JavaScript part, this addition part, at the bottom of your page, right? At the bottom, what I mean is just above your body tag is ending. Just before that, we try to add this part, right? CSS ka preferable area was what? CSS was preferred in the head section. CSS was generally added in the head section, but script files are generally added at the last, right? What is the particular reason of that? I will tell you later as we move about DOM. I mean, as we talk about DOM. Although this JavaScript might work if you add this into the head part, but the best results arrives, or there won't be any problem if you add this script area into almost last of your page, right? I hope I made this point clear. Now, one other way could also be there, right? What could be that other way? That could be you could possibly make a separate file of that. Suppose if you have a script file to make, or if you have a JavaScript file to make, you'll probably give this a name as script and then write .js as its extension name. And once you hit that enter, how will you include that? You will include that by writing this particular line, script source. Yeah, script source, and you'll probably write that simple name over here, right? It's just like normal simple thing, just like you were adding your CSS file, right? Just like that, but instead of writing link or instead of writing style, you are writing a script tag over here, right? It's just plain that, right? Now, these are the simple way how you can include your JavaScript into your page, right? What all JavaScript can we write, or what all different things that we can do with JavaScript, that will come a little later. Before that, let's revise all of the other things that we did in the last class, and let's quickly implement them, right? Let's quickly see if we have any doubts or something, then we'll move to that part. Just a minute. Explain slowly because okay, so definitely we will explain that slowly, don't worry about that. Can we use a script in our CSS file page? Okay, so it's not like you will add a script in your CSS file. You'll have to implement that in your HTML file, and from there it will work, right? It's not like you'll implement that in your CSS and it will work fine, right? Cool. Let's move ahead since we don't have any much doubt. So in yesterday's class, what we discussed about two, three things. Let me write that quickly. We discussed about data types. Discussed about variables, right? We discussed about loops. So data types, so I believe everyone is aware, right? What all could be different types of data that you can pass? You could basically pass, you could probably pass a string, right? What is a string? I told you it is a character of, it is a collection of characters. And what is a character? Character is, it could be anything, right? You could write A, you could write B, you could write asterisk, you could write $sign, anything that you can write is a single character. And if you combine them, or even if you take a single character, that is a string for you, right? So string everyone knows. Now next thing could be your number, right? What could be number? Number could be any number, right? It could be decimal one, it could be like a normal integer number, it could be whole number or anything, right? And third one could be your Boolean type, right? What is a Boolean? Boolean is either true or false, right? So these all are the primitive data types. Now you will say like there are something called as a null, there is something called as undefined, there is something called as object, etc. That we will cover in a, in further lectures, right? So all these things are basic things, right? Now, if you talk about these strings, numbers, or Boolean, right, you have to have like what is the purpose of doing these data types? Is that whenever you define a variable, right, you have to specify. You might have to specify what type of data type you are taking, right? But if I talk, if I say this, in JavaScript, the best part about data types and dealing with variables is that you don't have to specify what type of data type that you are taking, right? In other programming language, if you have any idea about C++, Java, or Python, I'm not sure about Python because I have very less knowledge of that, but if you talk about C++, right? If I say if there is a variable called as a and that has to take an integer value, right? So you'll have to specify that it is an integer value. If you are taking like char, right? If this is a character value, I mean, this is a key reserved keyword, but yeah, if you say like if you take C as a variable, right, and you have to specify key char is a character type, right? You will specify key C will take a character type only, right? If you say like what condition, if you write as a variable, you have to specify key this is a boolean type only, right? This is a problem with all these other things, but it is a benefit with JavaScript that benefit with is that key with variables, that whenever you are declaring any variable, you just write this one variable. I mean, you just write this one keyword, that is a var, right? Which is in the earlier cases you used to write var, but with advancements, with later version of JavaScript, we are now writing all these things as well, that are your let and your const, right? Now, what is the list and I mean, why it is different from var, and as I told, key let is now preferably be used, or const is preferably be using than using a var, right? That we will see just in a moment, but for a moment we'll be going with var only, right? Var is just like a variable which can fit in any kind of value, right? Any kind of value you can put on over there, right? So that I will see in a moment. And we also talked about loops, right? Loops was pretty simple. If you want to do any particular things over a particular time, right? If you can check a particular condition and want to do a particular case, you can do that using loops, right? So I'll quickly make something interesting for you, and I'll quickly open up any browser tab. Yeah, I'll open this thing, and I'll open up this one small section. I'll write I'll press some shortcut key. I'll write Control-Shift-I, right? Control-Shift-I is what? Control-Shift-I is your, just a moment, let's open up our page only. I'm going to show you one simple illustration. Yeah, this is our page, right? On your web page, please right click and click on this inspect element, right? Is this inspect button, or you can directly click Control-Shift-I from your keyboard, right? This will open up this thing for you, right? So this, my friend, over here is a gold mine, right? This section is a gold mine for a web developer, because that contains very good important parts, right? What all are these good important parts? That is, the first thing is an element section, wherein you can do what? All the other code that is currently available on your web browser, right? That is that can be accessed over here, right? Whatever I have written over here, see, you can see that head may, we have a title, we have a section called style, then in the body we had this hello world written over. Everything I can access from here. And one cool trick is that, I mean, I generally do it for the beginners. World's richest person. Yeah, right. So that you can do. And let me show you that real quick magic. I believe like you might have also seen this, or you might have seen people doing that. Maybe I'll write what? Let's yeah, Shah Rukh Khan, let's write. Right. So now if I write it this way, now you can see that we have successfully manipulated our page, and if I'll maybe share this with someone, they might probably believe that Shah Rukh Khan is a like richest person. If you want to change it to your name, you can also do that. One other fun activity that student does, do generally is that they open up any like social media profile. They open their profile and then they change their Then they change their number of followers or number of posts or something, right? So that fun thing that you can also do, right? How is that possible? That is possible using that inspect element, right? Now, despite of, instead of doing all these simple like funny trick things, you can also do some important things with that, right? What are all those important things? There is something called as a console area over here, right? So this is an area wherein you can write your simple JavaScript code, right? All simple JavaScript you can write over here, and that will give you some answers, right? So let's do one thing. Let's write var a equals to let's give this any alphabet over here, right? Any character over here. I'll write a b c d e, right? This is what I have done is I have this is a kind of a value that I'm giving into this variable, right? Variable is what? Variable is a particular block. It is a particular area where we can give any values, right? Where we can store any value. So once I hit enter, you will probably find this line. This is not very relevant at this moment, so you can skip at this line. But now if I want to maybe print the value of a, or just I want to check what is the value of a, if I write a over here, what will happen? Now you can see that A is containing this particular value, right? Which is pretty obvious because we have given this particular value in the very very previous line, right? Now this, in the similar way, if you want to change the A type to any number now, if you want to write like 10, and if you write A over here, then A will have 10, right? So these are very simple thing. I have not given much attention over this in the last class because this is a very fundamental thing about programming, right? So if we even start digging into that part, if we even start telling about like what are variables, how do you initialize them, how do you change their variable, then this might we might lose track of the time. That is why, for the simplicity, I have just explained that part, and right now I've just given you simple demonstration. Right now, if you want to write some loops and all these loops things we will write in the file itself, because writing that in the console is a very time consuming task, right? I hope you are understanding at this point this is just like any other programming language, right? It's not anything different than that, right? There are certain features that make it different that we will see as we move on with this thing, right? Any doubts or any questions with that? Let's see, and then we'll move ahead. Okay, lovely. I believe you were writing lovely. Cool. So if that thing is making some sense, now let me show you one simple thing, right? Suppose if I want to print anything in my console, how can I do that, right? Let's write that first of all. This is the first line of JavaScript that we are writing, right? What is that thing? That thing is called as a console log, right? Even before that, that thing is a particular function, right? You might have heard about cout, right? Sorry, cout, or maybe println or print. You might have heard about printf, right? All these things that you use in any programming language, right? Any other programming language that that prints something for you. Similar thing that can be done over here, but the catch over here is if anything that you write inside this console log will be printed over what? Will be printed over that console area only, right? You can see over here the message is loud and clear that hello world is written over here, right? If you want to change with any other message, you can definitely do that, right? So this is what? This is a simple plain line of JavaScript that we have written, and we have included that in our HTML file, right? You can clearly see that, right? In that JavaScript file, in that HTML file, we have added a script block. Inside what? We are writing that plain JavaScript for us. If you want to do that with other way, right? What is the other way? You write that with this, and you write this line of code into that file, and if you try to run it, yes, again that message is here as well. Hello world is again showing over here, right? So this is how you write these things. Now, if you want to do all these proper loops and all, let me also write those syntax for you. For those of you who are not very clear with that, if you want to write a for loop, right? How do you write a for loop? You just write maybe int is we don't use over here. The same thing that I have written over here that you write in any other programming language. Just instead of writing int, I have written var over here, right? Var specifies that it is a variable, right? Now all these things are very simple, right? The first part is your initialization part, where you initialize what value you want to start that loop from. The second part is your conditional part, wherein you specify what all condition, until which condition you want to run that loop. And the third line is your updation part, right? Suppose if you have checked across this condition and you have printed some part, or if you have done some calculation, now you don't want to do that same calculation multiple times, right? Why don't you want to do that? Because see, if I'm saying ki, I have to print a particular number, I have to print a series from 1 to 10. If I'll check if the current number is less than 10, I'll have to print that number, right? I have printed 1. Now, even I suppose if I don't increment that number now, if I don't increment 1 to 2, what will happen? One will be one will be printed until eternal times, right? Until infinity. So I want to change that number from 1 to 2 now, right? To increment that. So this part is done over here as well, right? So this is just a plain syntax. Right now I'm not going into that because it's just a 7-day bootcamp. We cannot cover literally everything. Now, if you are interested in knowing more about the programming aspect as well, right? If you are very new to programming as well, and if these things are not making much sense to you, so I want to take a brief minute over here, and I want to discuss about our program. One more thing, you can see the output is here, right? So from 0 until 9, the numbers are getting printed. About our flagship program that we have discussed earlier as well. Okay, so in this part, you can see that we have come up with this guaranteed internship full stack web development program. Let me take up my pen. Yeah. So the keyword is definitely like guaranteed internship, and also another keyword is your affordable, right? It's definitely affordable. There are plenty of keywords. I'll explain them later. So the main like crux of this whole course is we have like literally eradicated every problem of yours, right? What all could be problems? You will say, yeah, I get recorded videos, but I want to learn live. I want to ask live doubts, right? That is also done over here, right? You will have this doubt key. I learn the skills, but I want to do something over it, right? I want to like I want to do some practical things with that. That is also resolved. Like how it is resolved, because we are offering you internships that not only will only select 1-2 people and then we'll give them internship. It's like for all of the participants who have joined the course and who will complete that course, they will definitely be getting an internship, right? Now you'll say, okay, I'll do that, but I tend to procrastinate. Because I might lose one class, I might lose 2 class, and then after that I don't want to attend any live class. So for that we have come up with a proper thing that is called as a peer groups, right? You will have some peer with you. In that particular group, you will be learning, you'll be reporting to them, okay, this is what I'm learning, this is all these stuffs, right? So yeah, without taking much of ado, let's move further and let's see what all things we have here. So in that part about this edspread and all, you can take a moment and you can read about it, right? What we are all about and what we are providing. The basic key feature is about the doubt support, the real-time doubt support to be precise, and this is about the instructor. If you want to read more about his qualification and all, etc., you can take some time and you can read that as well, right? After that, it's just a brief course overview, right? Okay, what all we will be doing. One more important part that I skipped, that I forgot to add over here is, it's not like only live classes will be there or only we will be teaching you the concept. It will more of like a practical thing, right? Rather than including much of the theory, we'll be having different projects, different intriguing projects, so that you can also, add them into your resume and then you can show off them, right? So all these important projects will be there. What all are these projects? What all they will be covering? That will be there in the slides as well. You can take some time and you can read about that. So all these things are, all these key features are now available at your screens. You can see like live classes will be there, one-on-one doubts will be there, beginners to advanced, right? Again, I'm emphasizing on that point. Key in bootcamp, we cannot start from 0 until like level 1000, right? We have to take some breakpoints. We have to like skip some particular points. We have to take this for granted. Okay, students might be knowing this because we have a very limited time. In that curriculum, it's not like we'll be we'll be throwing some topics at you. We'll be saying, "Acha, read this and this will be done," right? We'll be hand holding you from the very basics and we'll take you to the advanced. Right, group-based learning is already a very high-end features that we are also providing. Again, 10 plus features, 10 plus projects is good. Now, resume building workshop is very one of other crucial key points with this. What comes with this course? That is, suppose you have done everything, you have prepared your projects, you have had a great learning experience. Now you want to make your resume in such a way that your resume will stand out, right? Because if you know some things, until and unless you express this properly, then it is a problem, right? So those classes will also be taken by industry experts, like from Google, Microsoft, Amazon, all these farm companies, employers, and all these interviews will be helping you out in making your perfect resumes. And not only that, see, I know that people will say like certificate have no values or all these things, but what if you have the skills plus certificate, right? Then it is value, right? Just not like having certificates, but having skills plus certificate is always a plus situation. So you'll be having certificate of recommendation, which is definitely above your normal certificates, right? Because certificates are not very not very hard to earn, but letter of recommendations are very hard to earn, right? And you'll also be doing an internship, so that is why you'll also get an internship certificate from us and a certificate of completion, right? So all these things will will be there after you complete a course. Now I am explaining why to take this course or what are the features of that course, but I also want to take one more minute and want to make sure that you understand the market that the full stack development has at this point, and what all are the different domains that we have for a full stack developer, right? We already had a bootcamp, we already had a roadmap for a full stack developer and what all opportunities that they have, so you can definitely check out that in our channel. But yeah, I want to take a little more time and I want to explain. See, The market for web developers are really huge. The opportunities for a developer is very common. If you know a full stack development, and you'll probably be getting landed at any high paying job, any high paying freelance projects, or all these things very easy, right? So all these things, you can keep that in mind. And now this is the curriculum what all will be teaching. Since it is a front end, since this is a full stack development, so we'll be covering front end, we'll be covering back end. We'll also be equipping you. We'll also be making sure that you GitHub, you know about all other version controls, you know about APIs and how do you make these calls and stuff like that. Databases and all things will also be covered. And at the end, how do you host your project, how do you deploy it, and even how do you secure it, right? All these things will be there. Now these are detailed curriculum. These are subtopics if you want to have a sneak peek into it. HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, React, etc. all will be taught in a very descriptive manner, right? Whenever I'm saying this, that means from scratch till advanced level. After that, text stacks, all these little icons are there for illustration. Backend we will start from Node.js. This is a MERN stack. By the way, if I forgot to add this part, this is a MERN stack, basically MongoDB, Express, React, and Node.js. If you are not sure about this, what is MERN and what all different stacks are there, you can refer to our video where we have discussed about this. And MongoDB hosting, etc., that I've already covered that part. Now tech stack is there as well. Now these projects, if you want to have a more detail into that, you can read that. I just quickly will pronounce their name so that you have some idea. Personal portfolio, so that you can show off the world like what all skills you know. You'll have an expense tracker app so that you can track whatever expenses you are making. That will be made using React, and hooks and all these things will be added over there. Then search movies and detail app, right? It's just going to be like an IMDb app, right? Wherein you can search for the movies and you'll be getting who all were casted into that movie, when it was released, all these information about your movies and web series, right? After that, Swiggy backend management will be done. Like, it is a very descriptive project. After that, blogs, website using database will also be done. So these are just like the major ones, right? All these minor projects are tons of these minor projects that we have, that we have with this course. After this course, we'll be definitely be providing you with this industrial training and internship program that will solidify your skills, because whatever you know is a different part, but whatever you have implemented has a greater ability, right? So that is why it will be there, right? That will be for very good time. And after that, 2 days resume building workshop from all these all these employers, all these interviews, so that you will stand out in your interviews. And yeah, definitely 3 certificates will be given to you. And after that, if you want to have any other queries, if you want to reach out to us, if you want to ask any other doubts, you can reach out to these things. But before that, I will say please fill out this form, right? Again, I'm showing that so that in case you miss anything, yeah, definitely it will be a beginner friendly, right? So yeah, all these things are there. Please do fill out this form if you are like 1% interested into this. And please it's a thing that don't fear will spam you or will force you to take this course. Nothing like that, right? I'm saying this from the very first day. Please keep that. Okay, now so let's see if we have any questions with that. How can I your internship? I didn't got your question. I believe you are asking about the internship, right? How can I join this internship or all these things? So this is very simple. Once you enroll into the course, once your curriculum is complete, once you know about all these things, then you'll be allotted your internship, and then you'll be working into that, right? Beginner friendly, I've already told, right? So I hope you have got a decent idea about it. Now it's the time when we get back to whatever we were discussing, and now let's keep keep our focus to that point. We'll also I saw some of the doubts saying that please explain that in a slower pace. I'll definitely do that, don't worry. Is it paid or free? Okay, it will be paid, but that will be very affordable, right? Very affordable. In the last class also, I have given you a very quick comparison between all these 3-4 different types of ways you have to do any full stack course, right? So that will be definitely worth your price, and I can personally vouch for that, right? Timings, etc. that if you have this doubt now, please do fill out the form. Someone from the team will reach out to you. Anything about timings, anything about costing, all these things, right? Yeah. So yeah, with that, let's get back to our Let's get back to where we were. Like we were discussing on that, right? So this was about loops, right? I'm not going into depth of loops again, I'm saying, because if I'll go there, then our JavaScript will remain, right? Loops, even if you want to write me, I mean, if you want me to write that syntax for you, just let me write and then we'll move ahead. First, may you write the initialization, right? Yeah. Initialization will require you to have like what variable you want to initialize that loop on, right? Since we want to initialize that variable, that loop on I, so that is why we have written var I equals to 0. The second part is about the condition itself, right? What do you want to check, or until what point you want to run this, right? So this is our condition. See, our initial value of I is 0, right? So we are starting from 0 and we are saying until our I's value is less than 10, that is until our I's value is 9, keep on running this loop. Whatever I write inside this loop will keep on running until my value turns like greater than until my value exceeds the point of 9, right? So this was about it. Now this increment parts comes later when once this statement is run. Suppose if this condition is checked, this statement will run first of all, and then once this statement is run, then we will move to this increment part, and whatever is the condition or whatever is the change that we have written over here, that will occur, and then the same thing condition will be checked again and the loop will like continue in the same fashion, right? So yeah, after 0 is done, I mean if 0 is printed, then we will again go to this increment part. Now the value of I will be I plus plus. What do I mean by I plus plus? I plus plus bole to the value of I is now increased by 1 point. By 1 point, now the value of I becomes 1. So we will again check if 1 is less than 10 or not. If that is the case, then we'll print that, right? So you can clearly see that in our page that we are starting from 0 and we are printing it till 9. Now you might have this question ki this sounds good, okay, we are able to print that, but why are we not printing that into our page, right? This will make more sense if we start printing these things in our page, right? Rather than printing that in a like stupid looking console, right? The thing is that at the first point, if you directly want to paste things, or if you directly want to change things in our page, we need to know something called as a DOM, right? Which is a topic for which is a further topic that we will be covering. So until we know DOM, what we are doing is whatever we try, whatever we experiment, we will see that answer, we'll see that output in our console, right? Now one more quick thing that I want to do over here is I want to do a alert function. I want to write a pop-up, right? What is that pop-up? This is what I'm trying to write. I'm trying to call a function, right? This is a function. Now what is a function? That is a discussion, I mean that is a point of discussion. So till this point you can just understand it this way. Function is something that are particular some lines of code that does a particular thing for you. Suppose if I have a function that says ki maybe greet someone, right? So that will do what? That will say hello, how are you, have a great day, or something like that, right? So all these 2-3 things, I don't want to write that multiple times. Instead of doing that, what I will do is I'll make them into a function and I will call that function, right? So I hope this thing is striking something in your head. First thing is, what is a function? Function is like group of 2-3 lines of code, or maybe multiple line of code, wherein you have written or you have done a particular task, right? Now what is the use of function? Suppose if you are writing 10, 15, 20, or maybe any number of code, any number of lines for any task, and you want to do that task multiple times. But if you are doing that task for multiple times, you'll be required to write that same line multiple times, right? Which is a repetition. So instead of doing that, what you will do is you'll probably make that a function and you'll simply call that function wherever you want to call it, right? Wherever you want to use it. I hope that is making some sense. Now, if this thing is very, very clear, then I've written this thing called as an alert. Now you will say, where is alert, right? We have not written any part of code for alert. So alert is a by default function, or alert is a predefined function that will do what? Let me show you what it will do. See, this is doing this for us. It is showing as soon as my page reloads. Let me reload my page again. Please keep the attention. Yeah. Now you can see that as soon as my page loads, it will show me that message. And once I click on this OK button, that will go away. Right. So this is what this is what an alert will do for us. And yeah, this was about how you can write a loop. This was about how you can, just a minute. I've already shown you like how do you declare a variable, how do you give that value into that, right? So any questions with that, please do ask, and then we will move ahead. If I don't have time to attend the live classes, that I've already answered. You can get the recorded sessions. Sir, how to use all language? Suppose diffuse. Didn't got your doubt, Rahul. How to use all language? Suppose is there an opportunity for Android development? Definitely, Android area is also very vast. But I was just telling about, or I was just focused about web development. Right, so definitely Android has a very good market as well. Kotlin, Sabi, people are doing with Java as well. But yeah, we were only talking about the Java development field at this point. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, this is about it. Now I hope we have done implementation part of everything from the last class. Now it's turn for us to move with today's agenda, because we have very few things for today's. That is why I took some time into clearing the backlog of previous things. Yeah, so the first thing that we have for today is your functions, right? What are function? I have already given you a short example of that. What is function and how it is and why it is used, right? The second thing is it is not directed, but it is document object model. Yeah, so this will have a very brief introduction. After you know DOM, then you will be able to understand like how can you change some content of your page, right? Till then, let's see what all we have, and let's move step by step. So I hope this is striking some bell. Now, this is about function, right? What is function? Like if I read these things, the most common ways to define function is by these things. Yeah, so this specify all these things, all these lines. What they are doing is they are saying if you want to do any particular task, right? If you want to say if you just want to print 2-3 different lines, if you want to print like console log, hello world, then you want to write how are you, and then you want to write have a good day, right? All these 3 messages you want to print, but you don't want to write all these 3 lines multiple times. What you will do is you'll create it as a function. And how do you create a function is a fairly simple thing. The first thing that you write is you write a function, right? Just simple function. It is a keyword, right? Please make sure you have to write it the similar way. Once you write that function, after that you write its name. You maybe write function name, or you write maybe anything that you want to give that name. After that, you open up this area and then this curly braces, right? So if you know any other programming language, it is almost similar to doing that, but there is one small catch. What is that small catch? In any programming language, what you do is you write the return type first of all, right? Return type you write. After that, you write the name of that function. Inside you write some parameters, and this is how you write a function. In JavaScript, what is the change? The only change is instead of writing this return type, we write a function over here. Just plain function keyword that specifies that this is a function. After that, name and all these things remain the same. Now, let me clear this point for you, is that this is not the only way of writing functions in your JavaScript. Right? There are multiple ways of writing functions in your JavaScript. There could be like name functions, arrow functions, like unnamed function, all these different things are over there, right? So we will not go into that part. We'll only we'll only look at this function, like normal plain way of writing a function. This is how you write it. Okay, some are also asking about like what does a function mean, right? So I although I have told this earlier, but let me give you some like one short liner answer for that. Functions are nothing but group of some particular code that will do a particular task for you. Right, it's just like you want to do some particular task, you want to print some particular number, you want to print some tables, you want to give some output. So instead of writing all these things multiple times, what you will do is you'll club them together there and you'll give a name to that, right? So wherever you want to call that function, wherever you want to use that function, you'll just call it, right? It's that. Okay, sir, how to generate theme of web page for WordPress Blogspot? Okay, so this is not relevant at this moment, because we are not talking about WordPress and Blogspot, because these are pretty different themes as compared to like the plain things that we are doing, right? Cool. So yeah, this is about function and how do you write it. Let me quickly show you this thing. Let me show you that demonstration. I hope you'll get that. Okay, right now what I'll be doing is I'll comment this out again, and again I'll close this alert function. See, the alert will be showing over here because for the last line that we have written. Now what I will do is I'll write a function that will do what? See, function I have written. I'll maybe write what I'll write say hello, right? So this is the syntax that I'm using. First thing that I have written was the function keyword. After that, I've given a particular name. It's up to you whatever you want to name that, right? I have followed a particular naming convention that is called as camel casing, right? If you want to give it any simple name, or if you want to give any other name, it's totally up to you, but try to follow a convention, right? What are these convention? How do you write these? All these things that are not necessary for a moment, so that is why I'm not covering that. But yeah, once you have given that name and whatever you want to write inside it, maybe I want to write console.log hello world, then maybe I want to say alert, I want to run an alert and say hello world, then maybe I want to say again an extra alert and then write how are you, right? Instead of how are you, and let's write have a nice day. Instead of writing hello world, hello user, let's write. And yeah, now once I've written this, let's see if there is anything visual on our, if there is any visual change on our page or not, right? So in this area, you can see that there is nothing visible on our page, right? Although we have written like 5-7 lines, but there is no change in our page, right? Why there is no change? Because we have only declared a function at this point. We have only told at times when we call, when we say hello function, these all things should run. You can write anything inside it, but for simplicity, I've just printed some messages over it. So in order to call that function, in order to use that function, you have to do one thing. You have to call that function. You have to say hello, and yeah. And when you call a function, you call that by adding these parentheses, right? You call that by adding these circular brackets. Once you write that, let's see if something happens on our page or not. You can see that something is happening, right? We are having a alert message that is showing hello world. If I click on OK, then the next message will pop up. That is your how are you. If I click on this OK as well, then I'll have another message that says have a nice day, right? So now you can see that how you can define a function and how you can use that function, right? I hope this is very simple thing, right? This is very plain thing if you are already about programming. Cool. Chalo, let's move with the next part. What is the next part in our, sorry. Now it's about calling a function, right? That I've already told you how do you call any function, right? And one more thing is that is remaining over here is in functions, if you want to return any particular thing, right? Although that is covered in the later slide, but yeah, if you want to return anything, that is also possible. How is that possible? Which we will see just in a moment once we reach out to that file. You can also possibly pass some particular values to your function, right? What values and what will be the use of doing that? Suppose you want to print particular message, but you want to customize that message as well, right? Suppose you want to say that every time, maybe every time the message shows up, I don't want to print hello user every time. I want to print a particular name. I want to say, I want to say hello, maybe Riddhi, hello, maybe anyone, or maybe hello Alpha. Let's take a name. Let's say someone, there is a person named as Alpha, right? So I'll say name, and that will contain whatever value this name variable will have, that we will print over here, right? So how is that possible? That value, that passing things is possible using parameters, right? Parameters are nothing but whatever value you are passing to your function are called as parameters, right? That your function can use. Now if I go back to my screen, now you can see that there is nothing visible on my screen, right? Why there is nothing visible on my screen? Because I have not declared a name anywhere. Just a minute, we'll probably have undefined. Just a minute, let's refresh this page and then we'll have that thing. Yeah, there is nothing in my after hello, there is nothing, right? Why that is happening? Because we have not declared name. So I'll say var name equals to Alpha, or maybe let's give a John. And if I reload this page, I have to reload for changes to occur. Just a minute. See, these console errors are very tricky. These alerts boxes are very tricky. Let me on that again, because even if you do a single change, they will start on reloading. They'll not yeah, this will work probably now. Okay, now we are not having John here. Why John is not visible? Just a minute. Um, okay, got it. You have to add a plus over here. See that comma, whatever I was writing, that was because that is a Java syntax. I sometimes tend to mix match all these syntaxes, and sometime if you want to add a particular variable, you just write that name. But if you write that name variable over here, what will happen is, see, let me show you the demonstration. If I write it this way, if I just write hello name, the problem that will happen is it will print name, right? NAME, instead of just printing the value of name. So if you want to print the value of name, what you have to do is you have to come out there of that particular area, and then you have to add a plus. Why adding a plus? Because you want to add a particular message. After adding hello, you want to add this name into that message. So that is why you are adding a plus. And once you have added that, you want the value of name to be printed. So if I do this now, again, this has to reload now. Yeah. Okay, now we are having something. Just a minute. This is very tricky thing. That is why people say he don't use this. Now this is giving us a strange error, right? It is saying hello not defined, right? Why it is not defined? This is very interesting thing, although you might not know this, because we have not passed anything in this hello name function, right? Now what we are doing is we have to, in order to use that, we have to name this thing earlier. We have to write it over here, because once we have declared something as a name variable, then only we can pass that, right? Now I hope this will work perfectly fine. Okay, let's reload this. We should have not included these much alert messages. Now you can see hello John, right? Let me again show you that to you. Yeah, hello John message is now completely visible over, right? So this is about parameters, this is about functions. And now if you want to print any particular value, if you want to return any particular value, how do you do that, right? Just a moment. People are asking about attendance link, right? It's 7:50 already, so let me share that first of all with you. And please do mark your attendance, everyone, because this will not be getting certificate of completion. Yeah, we have some doubts over here. Okay, that I'll take later, just in a time, once I explain this return keyword to everyone. Cool. So return is nothing but, suppose if your function is doing any particular calculation, and if you want to return the result of that, how do you return that result out of that function? You just use that return keyword, right? Suppose if your function is doing maybe if your function is doing variable a equals to 10, and then variable b equals to like 20 or something, and then your variable is then your function is saying variable c equals to a plus b, right? This is what your function is doing, and now you want your function to return that particular value for you. So you'll simply write that return keyword, and you'll write whatever your value you want to return out of it. So what will effectively happen is, once you have returned this thing, what will happen, if you want to use this value any particular anywhere as well, you can collect that value over here as well. You'll just write var answer equals to this particular name. Whatever value that function throws, that will be passed over to this variable, and then you can console log that maybe, right? If you want to console log that, you can console log that. Just write that. Probably you'll have you'll have to write answers now. Then you'll probably have that in your page. Yeah, now you can see that 30 is present over here, right? Why 30 is present? Because we have done some calculation. We have said like a is 20, b is 20, sorry, a is 10, b is 20. Please add that first of all, and then whatever is the result, please do return that, right? Once that is returned, what we are doing is we are collecting that variable, we are collecting that answer to a variable called as an answer, and we are just trying to print that, right? So this is how it is working, and this is how, this is all about functions, right? This is a brief about function. Yeah, this is an example of writing that, although I've given the whole implementation part by myself now. If you want to look at another example, you can clearly look at that. What is, how is that looks like, right? Okay, so yeah, if that is done, now there is one thing that is needs our attention, that is document object, right? Before going into that, let me quickly take some doubts from the chats, and then we will cover that. We'll only be looking at the introduction of DOM, because that is the topic for tomorrow's class, right? Cool. Let's see what doubts we have from the students. Quickly, attendance. Yeah, all these we have already done. Attendance. Yeah, attendance is done. Now we are saying, sir, can you post the PPT? Okay, that will be the PPT link is there in the drive, right? So you can easily get that over here as well. But yeah, I think someone from the team will post it to the groups as well. Don't worry. How to connect the JS function to the HTML page on the submit button for showing a successful submit message on the code. Okay, this is a good question. See, if you have a submit button on your page, right, and now you suppose as soon as you click on that button, you want to show a particular message, right? So that thing can be done as something called as the events, right? What is event? That is again a topic for tomorrow's class. And how do you trigger an event? How do you change any particular content of your page once once an event is like clicked or something? That is also we'll be doing it. This. We have another question. What is different? What is difference between return and console log? Okay, so return and console log are fairly different things in itself, right? Return is just a keyword. Return is just a thing that you can write to return or to throw any value inside a function, so that you can use it outside that function. Because suppose if that is a function, right? If this is a function for you, whatever calculation, whatever things that you are doing inside it will remain inside it only. Right, you cannot access these value outside of these functions. I told you about scopes, right, in yesterday's class, like global scope and local scope. So if you do these things, if you want to access this value of C outside this function, you can do that by throwing that value by writing this particular keyword return, right? So this is it. And console log is fairly a simple function that will log your thing, or that will print your message or whatever you are trying to print on the console area, right? What is that console area? Console area is this area. Cool. Okay, sir, which topic are complex? I didn't get this point. Okay, now we have another question, that is, what is a context? Okay, so this is a very fairly good question, right? Complex Python like LLE. This. So about context, right? So in order to like understand what is this context and what all are this, like there is something called as a like execution context, there is something called as a memory area, all these things, right? So I'll not go into very much detail at this point, because else we'll again lose the track. But I just want to make sure you understand this point. Suppose if I write anything in my program, right, any simple single line of code in my program, how does that execute, right? How what is the process that goes behind that? So there is one thing. Suppose if I write, let's take this example, right? Let's take all these whatever I've written over here. So if I like before running of this, what will happen is my JavaScript will have like two sections, right? There is a particular memory area wherein whatever variables that we have used, right? Maybe there is a variable called as a name that will be initially assigned to undefined, right? Answer will also be initialized to undefined, right? Whatever function I've used, what will happen is say hello will be will be assigned with this whole function itself, right? As soon as my first line start running, what will happen is whatever value I've given over here, like I've given John to this name, right? John will be written over there inside of undefined, right? So there is a particular way how your JavaScript program runs, right? So which is very very different from any other programming language, right? So all these things about context and all these things about execution environment, these things come over picture into this area, right? Which I'm definitely not touching at this point, because that is a very that is a very big thing in itself to complete, right? So I just given you an example, right, about context and about execution environment, right? Cool. So in JavaScript complex Python, so JavaScript में कौन से topics complex है? Okay, so it's not like any particular topic is concept. The whole idea about knowing the functionality of running JavaScript and how does it works internally, and then knowing about these execution context and all these things are important. Then closures, and then about there are multiple things, right? With JavaScript that are important to know. It's not like these are complex, these are just simple things. Once you understand them, then your journey about JavaScript becomes very easy. Okay, now again, this is a very important question, how JavaScript is asynchronous, right? See, all these questions that Ramji Pandey that you are asking at this moment is somehow not not aligning with our bootcamp right now, because we only want to focus on the implementation part of JavaScript, right? Wherever we just do some things and that our page shows the output, right? All these synchronous and non-synchronous things that will be covered once we go into that part, right? How all these things work and how all these things functions. right? So that is why I'm skipping it for this moment. Maybe in later, like in 1 or 2 weeks, we'll probably be having a boot camp with only specific to JavaScript. Then we will have a fairly good like discussion over how JavaScript works and how is it asynchronous and what all like all these different things are there, right? Cool. So yeah, I believe everything around functions and all these things are clear. Now let me give you a just brief introduction about DOM and how or what all things can be done using DOM, and then we'll be probably be wrapping up this session, right? Also, till this point, if you are learning or if you are enjoying something, if you are getting anything out of this bootcamp, please do consider liking this stream. Please do consider sharing it with your friends, and please do consider subscribing to the channel as well. Right. So about about DOM is I told you whatever changes we are doing, nothing is getting reflected to our page, right? Why it is not reflecting and how can we reflect that change is a thing in itself. So before doing that, if you remember from the first class of HTML, I told you HTML is a root element, right? HTML ke inside you have like two things. What are the other two things? Head is a thing. Then you have something called as a body, right? So in these parts, again, inside inside head also there is something called as a title. There is probably something called as a link, right? All these multiple things would be there. Then you could add H1, you could add paragraph, you could add all these different things, right? So can you not see that this is something like of a tree, right? If you know about data structures may there is a data structure called a tree, right? So this looks exactly similar to that, right? There is a root element, then it has some children, then it has some further children. So it is something looking like a tree. So this tree is normally called as a DOM, right? Document object model. Although it's not only like this only. You have a document object over before that. In fact, before that you have a window object, right? So all these things, it is just like a hierarchical structure of your HTML or your web page, right? Your web page have a parent element called as a window. Everything around your page is inside that window, inside that parent element called as a window. Inside window you have something called as a document, right? Inside document you have multiple things, and one such thing is your HTML, right? HTML ke andar we will have all these different notifications. All these different things. So what is this thing and how does this work is very simple to understand. That is, if you want to trigger to any particular byte, right? If you want to trigger to this H1, or if you want to change it, how do you change it? You change it using DOM elements, using DOM manipulators, right? Before that, I hope DOM is something clear to you by now. Whatever your HTML page is, whatever your web page is, you have categorized it, you have mind map into a tree like structure. Right, this is called as your document object model. And if you want to reach out to this element, and if you want to change to this element, how can you do that? By using some DOM elements. By using some DOM manipulators. What are those things? How do you use that? Is the topic for tomorrow class. We will definitely look at this, and we'll start changing some content of our page. And once we do that, we'll be having a project. That project will include everything starting from HTML, from CSS, from core concept of JavaScript, then DOM manipulators, and then finally finalizing here and there things, and then we'll have that, right? Any questions with that? Okay, we have another question around like a difference between document.write and console log, right? So document.write, as the name suggests, it will directly write into your page itself, right? Whatever is your page, that will write it over there, and console log will log that message, or it will bring that message into that console area. Sir, can we can get that internship on that basis of this bootcamp? Okay, so it's not like you'll be 100% ready for this after this bootcamp, but yeah, you'll have some knowledge around it, around basic concepts. So if you work hard on these things, you'll definitely be getting an internship. It's not like that, right? The main agenda of this bootcamp is not to make you like super efficient or super proficient with any particular language, but it's just like you have an idea about front-end development, what all front-end development is, and is it suitable for you or not. Because I told you about this problem, generally if you are a fresher, if you are a first second year guy in tech learning some things or struggling to learn some things, you'll probably find this problem some people are enjoying web development, but you might not be enjoying web development. Some people are enjoying Android development, but you might not be enjoying that thing. So instead of directly jumping into that and directly devoting yourself to fully to that, please try a 15 days or 10-15 days learning about it. If you enjoy it, then go to that part, right? So the main agenda of these bootcamps are that only. Cool. Attendance link, although I've already shared, but let me share that again. So yeah, with that, I believe we can conclude this. We can conclude this class for. I mean, we can conclude this class right now. If you come across any other problem, please do ask, and else we'll be continuing this in the next class. We'll be changing all these things in from our page. Cool. सर HTML CSS और JavaScript just हमें इतना नहीं आता हो तो हम आपको कह सकते हैं कि हम okay, so it's not like a very cool thing to do if you just know HTML CSS and JavaScript and you are calling yourself a developer, but yeah, you can call ki I am somewhat of a front-end developer, right? I know some front-end, right? Although front-end development is not fully HTML CSS and JavaScript, there are many more things related to that, but yeah, you can call yourself a front-end guy, right? Okay, so yeah, it's good, like man, if you really like this web section and if you want to explore this, definitely go ahead with this. And since I've been telling you, there are multiple opportunities in this area, so please explore them, and please you'll definitely have a very good career in them. Yeah, framework and library are already there. Now if you want me to explain like what are frameworks, what are libraries, and what is the difference between them, I'll definitely be, I mean, at this point I will restrict myself to not explaining that, because else that will have a discussion. But the simple thing about it is with frameworks and with like libraries, what is this? If you are writing everything from scratch, you'll have very pain, right? What is the pain? You'll have to implement every single line from very simple, like every single thing by writing every other line. So for that, what we have done is we have made these things easier for the developers, and we have made some libraries and some frameworks where all these things are already implemented, and you just have to use them, right? So again, there is a difference between frameworks and library. Libraries are the smaller sections, frameworks are the like larger subsets. We'll have this discussion maybe around any other bootcamp. Right now we are not focused into that. I hope with that we can end this session. If you have any other doubts, please do ask, right? And yeah, I'm assuming that we don't have any further doubts. I'm closing that. Let's see you tomorrow, and let's continue with this JavaScript part. So bye bye everyone.